Hey friends, Elizabeth here from Plant-Based Bride, back again with another bullet journal video. And this time I'm going to be setting up my husband's bullet journal for December 2018 with a Back to the Future theme. So my husband is a big fan of Back to the Future, and I'd actually never seen the films until we started dating, which absolutely shocked him, and he immediately educated me in the world of Back to the Future, and I'm very glad he did because I love all three of the movies, the first one being my favorite and the third one being my second favorite. The second one is a little scary, and especially considering current events, is not something I'd want to watch right about now, but the first and the third one are always a feel-good time. So unfortunately, in the process of transferring my footage from my camera to my computer, I had some frustrating things happen with my hard drive, and the first clip of this was corrupted and I wasn't able to use it. So I'm so sorry that I'm starting this cover page halfway through. I did everything I could think of. I tried for literally hours to recover that first clip, and it just wasn't possible. So I'm very sorry, but this is what I have of me setting up the cover page. My concept for the cover page was to make it look like a movie poster. So I have the producer and the director and then the title of the film, which obviously I wrote December in the style of the font used for Back to the Future with the arrows. And then of course I had to draw the classic, the iconic DeLorean time machine from the back so you can see the out of time license plate and the cool shape of the car. And then for a little bit of pizzazz, I decided to add these yellow lines coming from the tires. Obviously in the film, you have flames coming off the ground where the tires have been, and I didn't want to be too literal, but I still wanted to evoke that feeling. And I started off by using my Tombow brush pens and ended up changing my mind. I just felt like they weren't giving me the punch I wanted, so I ended up pulling out my Winsor & Newton Cotman watercolor set and using the yellow in there to really brighten up that color. And of course used a little bit of washi tape just to keep that line really sharp. So now moving on to the monthly, and I decided to create the header of this inspired by the dashboard inside the DeLorean. So you have the three sets of dates in the DeLorean. You have the destination time, the present time, and the previous time, if I'm remembering correctly. And I decided just to go with two, and I wanted the top to be the destination time. So obviously I set the destination time as October 26th, 1985, and the present time as December 1st, 2018. Since the dashboard in the DeLorean also included the hour and the minute, I decided to include that in mine as well. And the little dots in between the date and the time actually indicate whether it's AM or PM. As for the headers of the days of the week, I decided to use the same font, sort of a digital clock inspired font. And the easiest way to get this effect from what I've found is that for every single digit or letter, the horizontal lines involved will be a solid line and the vertical lines will be split in half. So for example, looking at the O for October, the line at the top and the bottom of the O are solid straight lines, and the lines on the left and the right side of the O that are vertical have a split in the center. And I did that with every single letter. If you take a close look, you can see every single letter and every single number that I did in this style. It's like they've been cut in half horizontally and separated a little bit. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's where my head is at. It's time to invite Jason himself to come and chat a little bit about his bullet journal. I know you've all been wanting this, so give this video a like to encourage him that he made the right choice in coming on and joining me on the voiceover, and let's hear what he has to say. Hey, babe.
Hello.
Okay, so I just have 3 questions to ask you, so I won't keep you for too long. My first question is, how has your bullet journal changed your day-to-day life, if at all?
My bullet journal has really changed the way my month is structured. Things are way more organized. I'm way less panicked trying to remember or find little scrap pieces of paper of what I'm doing next. And it also keeps me on track of who I have yet to invoice or who I have invoiced, and make sure that I'm getting paid on time so that our household runs smoothly.
Awesome. Okay, so question 2, what's your favorite thing about having a bullet journal?
My favorite thing about this bullet journal is showing it off to all my friends. And all of them saying, like, will she make me one? Or how do I get one? And that's really cool.
Aw. Okay, very last question. What's the hardest thing about having a bullet journal, or something you didn't expect?
The hardest thing I found with my bullet journal is just keeping it on me physically sometimes. Sometimes I need to travel light, or other times I'm traveling so heavy, I'm remembering to bring everything, and I've got the list written in my bullet journal on my desk as I'm packing, and the one thing that I forget is my bullet journal.
I'm pretty sure everyone watching this video can relate to that. So yes, definitely forgetting to bring your bullet journal with you is one of the hardest things about having a bullet journal. Okay, well that's it. Thanks so much for joining me on the video. Everybody remember to give this video a like to show him that you're glad he came into the voiceover. He wasn't sure if he wanted to, so I really, really appreciate that you did. And let's say bye to Jason. Bye.
My wife is the damn best for making these for me.
Wanna say bye?
Bye.
Isn't he the sweetest? I know I'm biased, but I mean, come on. Okay, so let's get back into our regularly scheduled voiceover programming. I also decided to add the hoverboard, the classic hoverboard, and I used a photo of the hoverboard from the film for reference, but obviously decided to make it in my own style, which tends to be relatively minimalist. I usually try to get the idea across in the most minimalist line art type of way. So even though I decided to add in the colors from the hoverboard and try to make it accurate, I really did want to keep it very simple. I used my Tombow brush pens for this, and of course all of the materials used will be linked in the description box as always. I also decided to add one of my favorites, if not my very favorite quote from the Back to the Future franchise, which is, "I'm your density." Moving on to the weeklies, and I'm setting these up exactly the same as I set up in the past 2 bullet journal plan with me's for my husband. He's really been liking this setup, so I'm just continuing on with it. A quick explanation for those of you who maybe haven't seen any of my setups in my husband's bullet journal yet. My husband is a freelancer, and these boxes along the right side there are for tracking billable hours with specific clients so that it makes his invoicing process a little easier. So each day has the potential to have 3 different clients, and there's space for him to write who he's working for, the number of hours he worked, and the total amount that he earned in those hours, and then also a little totals section so that he can add up the number of hours he worked in that day and the amount of money he earned in that day. And then at the end of the week on the Saturday, there's 2 totals boxes so that he can do the Saturday total and also a weekly total of the number of hours he worked in the entire week for everyone he worked for and the amount of money he earned in total for that whole week. So it's a very simple setup, but it's been helping him a lot with his invoicing. The left side is for each day of the week so that he knows what's going on in that week, where he has to be and when. And then the right side of the page, the notes side, is just what it's called. It's for notes for anything he wants to jot down throughout the week. And he likes to have a bunch of pages for notes each week. So I always give him another full empty spread so that he has 3 pages total for any notes that come up. In the bottom right-hand corner, I wanted to add a little interest, so I decided to add the flux capacitor, which for my husband has quite a bit of significance. He actually has a flux capacitor tattoo on his forearm, and that is what I used as inspiration for my flux capacitor. I looked at a picture of his tattoo and his tattoo in real life and tried to create my version as accurately to it as possible. It was definitely tough because my version was so small, but it was a fun challenge. And of course, I had to include 1.21 gigawatts. And here's my husband's tattoo for comparison with my drawing. I think I did a pretty good job. On week 2, I have Marty's classic sneakers, his self-lacing sneakers, and 88 miles per hour. On week 3, I drew the clock from the clock tower and wrote Great Scott. And on week 4, I drew the guitar that Marty plays at the school dance and wrote the longest quote of the quotes, but Jason wanted this one included, and he said it was fine if I used my regular handwriting, so it wouldn't take me 10 years to write in the Back to the Future font. So that is what I did. This is one of his favorite quotes as a musician himself. So let's take a look at all of the spreads now that they're complete.
Wait a minute. Don't I know you from somewhere?
Yes. I'm George. George McFly. I'm your density.
This sucker's electrical, but I need a nuclear reaction to generate the 1.21 gigawatts of electricity.
1.21 gigawatts! 1.21 gigawatts! What the hell is a gigawatt?
Calculations are correct. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
Great Scott! Great Scott!
Great Scott!
Great Scott! Great Scott! Great Scott!
Chuck, it's Marvin. Your cousin, Marvin Barry. You know that new sound you're looking for? Well, listen to this.
So that is it for this quick Back to the Future inspired setup. I hope you enjoyed this one. As always, please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, go follow me on Instagram if you're not already. I love to interact with you over there. I feel like it's so much easier to get to know you and chat with you on Instagram. I try my best to reply to every single comment and DM that I get, so come hang out with me over there. Let me know in the comments below your favorite Back to the Future quote. It is such a quotable movie, it's such a quotable franchise, and there are so many gems in there, so let me know which one is your favorite. If you haven't seen the December plan with me that I did for my bullet journal, I will link it for you. Go check that one out. It's very different from this setup, so it'll give you a completely different type of inspiration. I want to thank my newest patron. Thank you, Puck, for joining the Plant-Based Bride patrons family. I appreciate you and all of the Plant-Based Bride patron squad so deeply. And if you want to join the squad, feel free. There's a link in the description box. And as a special holiday treat for the month of December, patrons will be getting a bigger discount on my Teespring shop than usual. So be sure to go check out my Patreon so you can see the kind of discount you can get if you wanted to grab yourself some Bujo related merch for the holidays. I'm also planning on putting up some holiday specific designs, so watch out for those on my Teespring shop as soon as I have time to translate those ideas from my brain onto some merch for you. If you have suggestions or requests, feel free to leave them in the comments. That's it for me, and I'll see you very soon in my next video. Bye, friends.
Channel it into the flux capacitor. It just might work. Next Saturday night, we're sending you back to the future.